The Audit Tuesday topic today is quantifying the value of GRC and tools. For this very important topic, we have risk and board expert Ed Odenwalder. Hi, Ed.
Hi, nice to see you, Ashley.
Nice to see you as well. So, first, Ed, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I am a technology advisor. I've been focused for a number of years in the cybersecurity space specifically, but as a technology advisor, I take a business lens to how people allocate capital and spend on things such as cybersecurity. And in another part of my life, I'm also involved in AI investing and that sort of thing, and helping people decide how do we invest in AI. And I've been doing that sort of thing for almost 30 years now. Most of the last few years, I've had a strong focus on managed security services, and in particular, how do we allocate capital and spend money on managed services. So that's a little bit about what I do.
Perfect. So, your background gives you a special view on the issue of quantifying the value of cyber tools, right?
Yes, it does. Actually, if I go back, I was thinking about that. I was fortunate enough to study and teach operations research back at Colorado State University, and when I was in graduate school, and that was all about how do you take ambiguous and uncertain business scenarios and turn those into equations and models, and then evaluate those. Not expecting that you come up with the perfect answer, but it gives you a way to think about problems. And so that's informed my work, and since long ago when I was in college, and I'm used to looking at business through an ROI, or certainly a business impact kind of lens. And when you're talking to business folks, they're going to want to get it turned into dollars and cents quickly. So that's how I got started, and I got deeply interested in the cybersecurity arena and risk quantification there, particularly after a number of folks told me, well, it just can't be done, and it's impossible. And after doing some further investigation, I discovered that just the intersection of enterprise risk and all the work that's been done in that domain of enterprise risk management really had not been intersected particularly well with cybersecurity. I think we've all been so busy trying to stay secure that we've not ever gotten around to really optimizing on the spend. And so that caused me to start up my current advisory business called Cyber Assurance, and that's how I got here.
So, would you say that current boards and executive committees struggle with ascertaining a value and ROI with cyber tools?
Oh, absolutely. That's an emerging arena. And I'd say 2020 or 2023 is turning out to be, I think, a pivotal year for a number of reasons. Most significantly, I'd say, is just that the SEC has indicated that they're going to now, by this October, promulgate new regulations that create very personal responsibilities for directors. But that's led to some other things coming together as well. The NACD, which National Association of Corporate Directors, has just issued a handbook on cybersecurity governance matters. I recommend that for anybody interested in the topic. And that has a big thrust towards metrics, measurement, and quantification in terms of dollars and cents. So, and then the other thing I just noticed, John Chambers, of all people, wrote a piece about 3 months ago that highlighted this is the year for cyber risk quantification, and laid out some really compelling reasons as to why. And so, when somebody like that is, taking time out of whatever it is he does post Cisco, I found that things are really starting to percolate.
So, what is your recommendation on how these executive committees come up with appropriate valuations for the cyber tools and efforts?
Yeah, I think it's important for companies to understand how they view risk and what risk looks like in their particular type of business. I mean, when we talk generically like this, you kind of, what size business are we talking about? If you're talking Fortune 100, it's one thing. We're talking, a small $10 million a year startup company. It's another thing. But, how do you view risk, and what is your appetite for risk? And I would say those are two key things. Now, being here with YouAttest, which has a focus on compliance and that sort of thing, I think that one of the things that we could do, if you're in a world that compliance has teeth in it that could come back and haunt you, let's HIPAA is a prime example there. I think if we were to talk to a board, even at a very not particularly mature in terms of cyber risk quantification, that sort of thing, I think it's easy to just think about, hey, what could happen? Let's say a HIPAA violation, what might it look like, and what might the implications of that be? And a few Google searches and whatnot, and you'll find out, oh, well, here's what could happen. So I think you can begin to put some numbers on it. I think also most organizations are, if you have a formal board, you're likely to have cyber insurance, or you're going to have D&O insurance for your directors and officers. And I think you could get your insurance broker to also let you know how they're thinking about it, because they're absolutely quantifying it. And so those are some starting points.
So I have to ask, what's your viewpoint on identity controls?
Well, I think that identity controls are the essential elements to avoid some very nasty kinds of things happening to you. And again, in the knowing with YouAttest having that keen focus on compliance, just think about what are the financial implications of a control, not working, okay, or not being effective, for wasn't put in place or wasn't monitored, what have you, or was compromised. So I think your last question on hey, how do we look at quantifying it, and then how do we look at identity controls? I think tie together. Also, you got to look at identity is just so fundamental to basic hygiene in an organization. So there's so many different directions that a compromise in that domain could go. It goes far beyond compliance matters. So again, I tie to the, hey, what bad things can happen, and I don't, board folks don't have to be know a damn thing about cybersecurity to kind of get to the heart of that real quick.
So do you think tools that limit access privileges of corporate identities can improve their ROI to an enterprise?
Well, that's a tricky question. Let me put it this way. I guess I'd be very quick to put limits in if I did not feel like I had a good control structure. So let's say I don't feel like I've got a good handle on access to my systems and whatnot. So it might be that I need to be overly cautious, or not. That's not the right term. I might need to just lock things down until I've established control, and that I can have conducted proper audits, have brought in proper advisors to make sure that I have things under control. Because in a significant business, these are the kinds of incidents that could occur are the kind that could put you out of business. And so that's where my tendency is to say, well, hey, you never want to really lock things down, but in this instance, if you really don't know what's going on, you might.
Interesting. So given Ed's response, how does YouAttest show ROI and quantify value to the enterprise, Garrett?
I really liked the way Ed wrapped it up. He said straight out, well, we got to be addressing, and the board cares about addressing that the items and the events that could actually shut the business down. Okay. And that's straight out. And that's where identities come in. The recent Stop Ransomware guide that was a joint effort by the FBI, the CISA, the NSA and the banking commissions all came out, and it came out with it was called a JRTF, a Joint Ransomware Task Force, came out with recommendations, and identity was front and centric. What it was they said that enterprises need to practice the principle of least privilege. To speak English, what they're saying is enterprises, I don't care if they're a K through 12 or a corporated, publicly traded, you've got to start limiting the user's access to all resources. That's the principle of least privilege. Only have access to what you need to have access to. And that's exactly what the YouAttest offering does. It allows enterprises, either themselves or the MSPs, to run the tool over all the accesses and all the entitlements, and then go through and start eliminating those accesses that are excess and sometimes even ghost and orphaned. So yes, follows completely as Ed said.
Perfect. So Ed, can you tell people how to get a hold of you?
Yes, I can. You can write me at email ed@cyberxassurance.com.
Perfect. And then us at YouAttest, you can contact us at info@youattest.com, and we'll provide quantifiable value to your identity, GRC, as well as your cybersecurity programs. Thank you so much for joining us, Ed. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's been fun. It's nice to talk to you both.
Perfect. Thank you so much.